Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. In this video, we're going to do a value study of a RAM, and then we're going to go ahead and do a glazing of color over it once it's dry. So what you'll see here is me doing, basically in this time-lapse video, there'll be a pencil sketch first, and then I will do an underpainting with acrylic paint, and then I'll go ahead and oil it down. It will have oil paint on top of everything. Will have gone away on vacation. I was at the beach, and if you happen to catch some of my videos last week, it was all plein air painting on the beach. And that's my dog, you know. Phoebe's down there, she's barking at the world. But then, since I was away, this piece has been able to dry out a little bit. So now I'll be able to do the glazing technique. So again, thanks for joining me. If you are my subscribers, thanks so much. I so appreciate you. And if you're not, consider subscribing. As you know, right over here is that little owl icon. Go ahead and give it a smack, if you will, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in and do the value study and glazing of the RAM. Okay, now we're just kind of getting it sketched in lightly with a little bit of graphite here. And I'm trying to get some of the darker values in with the graphite just so I'll know where to put them in. But this is how we're getting this one started. Okay, you see I'm getting the eyes and trying to get a little bit of the detail because I have I'm actually combining several photo references that I have in front of me, and I am trying to get the structure of this animal correct. And you will see as I paint, I will be tweaking it all along, shrinking one part and raising it up, you know, raising an eye up or whatever I'm doing. But I try to get it as close in my pencil sketch in this case as I can, so it'll help me when I get into the painting part.
Okay, now for a quick underpainting with acrylic paint. And I'm only using a few colors. It's really just so I can kind of get the values and figure out where everything's going. Okay, now we're going with the first pass of oil paints. And I'm really, again, just doing values here. And before it's all said and done, this will simply be a value study in just grayscale. And I'm just kind of blocking it in here with the oil paints, and it will help me see just the total picture. But as you see here, we're going to just kind of put some of these oils in. And at this point, I've already had the grayscale piece dry. And this is the first pass of glazing. So I'm using the oranges and I'm warming up the overall piece because I didn't, just the black, white, gray kind of idea is just kind of stark. But I will be layering colors, and that's kind of the magic of glazing is you do lots and lots of layers, thin layers of paint on top of paint on top of paint. And what these mediums allow to happen is that it will dry more quickly with each layer so that you can continually build on the painting. Okay, obviously we've gotten quite a bit done here. The wonderful thing too about glazing is because these are thin layers, they're basically transparent. So if I lay down a whole lot of detail in one area and lay another color on top of it with the glazing medium, then I will be able to see the detail I already laid in. So this is why this is so great for me as a wildlife artist, because when I'm doing fur, this allows the fur to look really deep. It allows me to get more and more and more values. It's like you can see right down into the fur. You'll see that I'll put stuff down and then it looks like I cover it back over. And in a sense, I sort of am, but that's the thin layer and it will come through. So it starts to shine through and you'll start to see more and more and more layers. So you'll see me go back and forth, back and forth. And I'm just kind of laying it in here. But the piece is progressing nicely. I'm happy with it so far. Ah, the little hairs. But as you see, and you really have to look, the white hairs that I'm putting in on the nose, and I keep layering it up and layering it up, I'm actually able to lay in each individual hair here. And you'll see. I mean, it just slowly builds, and I keep, going in for a little bit more paint. And I know this seems like a very slow process, but it just is a very effective process in that it really gives you the illusion of thick fur. Ah, the flip. This is no accident here, folks. I do have the painting on its side because it is easier for me to move my hand in a particular direction when laying down fur. So sometimes I will flip it around just to allow me to move with the fur. So I'm not going against the grain, so to speak. I'm going ahead and putting in the fur in the direction that it goes. And it's just easier for my wrist. And you get a better sense and feel of how the paint is stacking up. And I think it's more evident here when you're watching it in time lapse, and you can see that the fur is slowly building. I probably painted this eye over 1,000,000 times. Folks, I don't pretend to always get it right the first time. Sometimes not even the second time, but eventually I get it. Now you see I've actually changed his mouth a little bit. I'm showing his bottom incisors. Of course, sheep, like all ruminants, only have bottom incisors. And sometimes they, the rams, when they're ruddy and everything, they will have those teeth showing and they'll wrinkle their nose and do all kinds of funny things. So I opted to just to make this painting a little bit more interesting, I wanted to show this ram's bottom teeth. But as you can see, still stacking paint, and tweaking that eye, for goodness sakes. As I get closer and closer to the end, I'm getting a little bit more impasto with my paint. So honestly, I'm using a little bit less medium when I'm working here so I can really stack that paint. So I don't necessarily want the paint thin here or transparent. I am wanting it to be thick and stand up. But what's nice is it will show out well with that. With already having the glazed mediums in there. Now here I'm just kind of mixing more of the medium, and it's the Galkyd, and I am just glazing over the ears here. Now I've already gotten some detail in the ear, and I'm just changing the color. And I think this is a good illustration of how transparent the paint is when you're using mediums. And you can see I'm just basically changing colors here. Now I will sometimes use a glazing medium to color correct later once a painting is finished. And by color correction, I mean that if I need some areas to be cooler or some areas to be warmer, or perhaps I needed to add some shadow, I can do a very thin layer of paint and create that effect. And I think that was a good illustration here on the ears where you were able to see that. Now, again, I'm adding more of the little hairs, and I am using the medium here because I'm still stacking. So you kind of get an idea of just laying in the hair. Lots and lots of hair. And here, folks, I believe we have a finished piece. And I think you can appreciate the hair now and the wonders of glazing. I just, I had a ball with this piece. You can really get a sense of depth in the fur. And, you know, this was, I think, a pretty good illustration. I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. And again, if you have any questions, you know what to do. Leave it in the comment section. I'll get to you, I promise.
Well, that was fun. I hope that you enjoyed watching me painting the ram and doing this a little bit differently, in that I started off loose pencil sketch, then went ahead and put a acrylic underpainting down just to kind of capture the shapes and the mass of the animal, and then I did it in a value study in just gray tones. So by doing that, I laid down the majority of the piece in that fashion, and then went over using a glazing technique. Now, one of the mediums that I was using was this particular product. This is a Gamblin. This is a product made by Gamblin, and it's called Galkyd. I used this product for this particular project, but I have used other glazing mediums in the past, or I've actually used the odorless lean, the archival oils. This is the healthier alternative, although I will say this is a little bit smellier, but I have to say that the Galkyd did really well as far as glazing. It's a little bit thicker, but it went well. I like how it turned out. So by glazing, you know, the whole glazing idea, just this is a procedure used by masters for years and years and years. This is nothing unusual, but it is, I find it to be very helpful, and I do like doing glazing. I use it quite a bit, especially when I'm layering a lot of hair. It does give a lot of depth to the piece. So there you go. That was value study and glazing of the ram. So I hope you enjoyed it. And again, thanks so much for joining me, and thank you to all my subscribers. You guys, this is why we do this. This is fun. This is fun for me. If you have any questions, perhaps about the mediums, my brushes, just the whole technique of glazing, go ahead and leave me a comment. Tell me what you're thinking, what kind of questions you have. Perhaps you have a suggestion for an upcoming video. I'd like to hear what you have to say. So again, thanks so much, and thank you to my subscribers, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. That little owl will do it for you, so just go ahead and smack that for me, and we'll go ahead and make sure that you'll know when the next video is uploaded. So again, thanks so much, and from Kingsport, Tennessee, I just want to say, see ya.